Hello, I'm speaking to you today from Southwick House, just outside Portsmouth. This is the map room where the planning and preparations for D-Day actually took place. And behind me you can see the giant map of the Channel and the coast as it appeared at 0 hour on the 6th of June 1944. This time last year, the community here at Southwick were able to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings. This year too, we should have provided us with a wealth of anniversaries. The 80th anniversary of the miracle of Dunkirk, the 75th anniversaries of both VE Day and VJ Day, the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, the 215th anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar, and next week, the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Taranto. Sadly, these opportunities have passed us by, not unmarked, as in most cases some form of online or televised commemoration has been achieved. But the opportunity to thank the remaining veterans has been cruelly denied us and them by a new and insidious enemy that has plunged the whole world into a state of siege that most of us have not previously experienced in our lifetime. That proud generation that is sadly passing away will even be denied their time at the spotlight of the cenotaph this week. So it's beholden on all of us to remember them, now more than ever. It is a generation that is still fighting for us and for a better world, as so ably demonstrated by Captain Tom and his efforts on behalf of the NHS earlier this year. I'd like to think that perhaps that those who have not had to live through war or experienced it at first hand will have gained through this year a better understanding of the sacrifices that previous generations have had to suffer. The separation, the restrictions on movement are all taking their toll. Somehow we must endeavour to find within ourselves the fortitude to keep going, because so far we've been at this for less than a year. While life is hard for those on the front line, we should not forget those who spent much of the war in the uncomfortable surroundings of a POW camp. We've all heard of the horror stories of the Japanese prisoners of war camps and the inhuman treatment the prisoners received, but there are forgotten stories from other conflicts too. Last year I was privileged to conduct a memorial service in Estonia for a First World War POW, Private William Croxon. He was captured at Mons during the very first engagement of World War I and languished in that foreign prison for the entirety of the war before contracting Spanish flu and dying in 1919 before he could be repatriated. What a poor, sad, lonely existence for him that must have been, and it's entirely likely that his family knew nothing about his whereabouts and believed him dead. His grave lies next to one other in the middle of what is now a public park, which seemed to add to that sense of loneliness. It is a tremendous privilege to ensure that these people are remembered. Sadly, this year there have been many who are dying alone and separated from their loved ones. Each one has their own story and their network of family and friends, which will have been sundered by this cruel virus. I'm sure most of us will have seen or heard recordings, the testimonies of those who fought in the world wars and witnessed conditions equally as bad as those faced more recently in the Falklands, Afghanistan and Iraq. No one is more familiar with the act of ultimate sacrifice than Jesus. Christians remember his great instruction that we heard in our Bible reading. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Those who gave their lives in conflict followed Jesus' words and gave their life for their friends. But I would venture that they have gone beyond this, as Jesus himself did by dying for us on the cross. They risked their lives not only for their friends, but for those who had the potential to be friends, whose homes are in lands far away. In the Bible, the prophet Isaiah looks forward to a time when nations will no longer take up arms against each other, when they will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, a time when the nations will no longer wage war anymore. I'm sure that you will join me in looking forward to that day, when all nations, all races and all faiths can live together in peace. But when that glorious day dawns and the wolf lies down with the lamb, we should never forget the ultimate sacrifice of each and every one of the individuals who died defending our freedom.